Hey everybody, it's your girl Bunny. To all of my returning subscribers, hey, how you doing? And for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. Kick your feet up, subscribe to this family-friendly channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss any posts. Also follow me on Instagram at the same profile name so you don't miss the sneak peeks of what's coming up next. In this video, it's season 5, episode 3, entitled Pressure. Okay. I give a full episode recap with photos offset to the side, and then I give my review at the end. No need to dig around. I have all of the minute marks in the comments. It's all coming up next. It's the aftermath of Lawrence after the devastating blow conversation with Issa, the reality of moving on, starting over, and getting back to work. Lawrence is now on the opposite professional spectrum. He now views companies that are looking for big-time investors when it comes to their company. He's impressed with the last presentation and says that they have low overhead, they're green, and their analytics are great. His supervisor gives the green light for him to move forward with the new business for a chance for a bigger launch. Lawrence goes on a date, which isn't sparking fluid conversation. To add to the awkwardness, Lawrence gets a text that his baby was born, and he has to leave. He leaves money for the dinner payment, but has to jump on a plane and hardly has enough time to say goodbye. When he arrives, the hospital has informed him that he has a son, and the baby came a little earlier than expected. There's awkward silence when he arrives into the room, but Condola's mom, Jackie, introduces herself and offers a hug. She's happy to finally meet him, but Condola's sister, however, is a bit more abrasive. Lawrence learns that they've already named the baby, Elijah Mustafa. Anyone can tell from Lawrence's body language that he's not too fond of the name, but from their harsh silence, his opinion clearly doesn't matter. Jackie invites him to hold the baby, and Lawrence is in love. Lawrence vents to Chad about how Condola already picked a name, and it wasn't even on the list of names that they discussed. He also found out about the birth via a text. Her family already thinks that he's a deadbeat and he stays in another city. It's not what Lawrence had planned for his first child. He told Condola that he wants info about the next appointments because he doesn't want to be left out of anything else. The next appointment, Lawrence is present and the doctor informs them the baby has lost weight, which is normal. Things should change in about a week. Other than that, the vitals are fine. When the doctor questions how her breastfeeding is going, she reports that she's seeing a specialist for help. Lawrence is slightly panicked and questions if feeding is going okay. The doctor encourages them to just focus on remaining calm. The next move is just to make sure that the baby is okay and that the health is more important. He tries to crack a little joke about seeing ugly babies, but they're not in for the laugh. He also encourages them to just let them know that everything will be okay. They need to work as a team and everything will be okay. After the appointment, Lawrence wants to know if they can work together when it comes to scheduling the baby's next appointments, if she's considered a time and date for his baptism, and if he can come by weekly to see the baby. Condola has already scheduled a lot of the appointments, has a church in mind for the baptism already, and she will see what she can do when it comes to the visits. Lawrence immediately addresses if this is the way it's going to be, if she is going to make all of the decisions for them, because he's the father and he has some say-so when it comes to the baby. Condola sarcastically reminds him that his previous request was just to keep him posted. He says that he wants to be included, and Condola agrees that they will work on it. Lawrence says his goodbyes to the baby and it's back home to put the crib together. It's the day of Elijah's baptism and the moments of the ceremony and photos go well. There's awkward moments with the uncle Rodney congratulating him for being with his son and even giving him $5 as a gift. Lawrence's parents have their critiques of the baptism and how Lawrence wasn't considered when it came to the baptism preferences. His mom wants another baptism where the baby can be fully dipped. Lawrence attempts to make more arrangements with Condola and her family concerning the holidays and more visits, but once again, Condola seems resistant, replying that they'll discuss it the closer it gets to those dates. Back home, Lawrence finishes up some business with a quick conference call, and a flight reminder adds to the exhaustion. He sends a text to Condola that work is crazy and he won't be able to make it down. Condola's sister can sense that something is wrong and says that it's awfully convenient Lawrence can just pop up whenever he wants. They both were looking forward to getting a massage and relaxing the next day, but she offers to watch the baby instead to give Condola a break. While Lawrence continues to adjust his place into baby mode, Condola then sends a text asking Lawrence if he saw the invite from Derek about Simone's first birthday party. He says yes, and Condola asked if they should go together with the baby. And Lawrence says that he's down. It's Simone's big day, and Kelly is happy to see Lawrence and Condola with the whole baby. It's a bit weird, but everybody is cordial. When Condola steps away with Tiffany to put her things away, Derek and Lawrence catch up. Kelly reports that everyone she's associated with is doing well in abundance. Kelly makes a toast, and she normally doesn't like children, but she says that she's happy to be a godmother. After Elijah's feeding, Lawrence gives Elijah a little bit of a baby snack that has some partial solids in it. He figures that the doctor said that it's okay to introduce solid foods after 4 months. But Condola is upset that she hadn't decided to introduce that into the baby's regime. And what if he was allergic? He tells her to calm down and it's not that serious. He gave him the food and everything's okay. He's happy and full. They go back and forth about the incident and it creates volume, so much so that others at the party start to take notice. Derek quietly interrupts the conversation, telling Lawrence that he needs his help moving some boxes. But then Lawrence finds out that there are no boxes that need to be moved. Lawrence is tired of Condola and he's tired of her BS. She always wants to take control. She's petty and she acts like she's the only parent. Derek insists that they work on their communication. Things between him and Tiffany had a little bit of static, but they realize that they need to work together as a team and to make things right. Lawrence says that their situation is totally different. They're married and him and Condola are not together. He's trying his best to be there for his son. Derek is calm with understanding and tells him that I get it, the situation is different, but the baby can feel the negative energy. The audience views how Condola and Lawrence are overwhelmed and exhausted. They both juggle new lifestyles and responsibilities, although Lawrence is not as exhausted when it comes to moments of leisure. Lawrence later communicates that he's landing in LA and if the plans are still a go for him to pick up Elijah, and Condola says sure. It's a shift in Lawrence finally getting some alone time with his son. To make matters a little easier, he has a rental property and a rental car that's only walking distance from Condola. He wanted to make sure that he reserved something that wasn't too far from Condola while he watched the baby. Lawrence tries to console the baby and already Condola is frustrated. Lawrence can't stop the crying and she wants the baby to be handed back. To avoid any type of argument, he gives the baby back, but you can see that Lawrence is very frustrated. Now Condola is having second thoughts about him leaving with the child. She doesn't trust him and Lawrence never checks on her to see if she needs anything, and he only gives her a few hours notice when he needs to cancel and not come around. Lawrence says that he has a job and he's busy and he does everything that he can do. Condola says that she has to figure out everything on her own, like when she had to take Elijah to urgent care. There's nothing he could do because he couldn't just fly in. All he has to figure out is how he'll get a full night's sleep and leisure. Lawrence tells her to just shut up. She never talks to him or gives him a chance. She blew his life up, made a decision without his consent, and now uses the baby to keep him from seeing Elijah. Condola says that the baby stays and Lawrence has had enough. He lets her know that they don't have to talk to each other and he's going to do whatever he needs to do to see his son with or without her. Condola is so pissed that she tells him to get out. On the flight back home, Lawrence is emotionally crushed. There's some turbulence so bad that the flight attendant can barely stand up straight and the passengers are rattled. After the turbulence subsides, Lawrence is afraid with tears and looks at the moon thinking of Issa. He returns home and he's in deep thought. Condola and Lawrence talk over the phone and Lawrence begins the conversation with an apology and agrees that their routine isn't working. Lawrence just wants to know, what do we do? And that is the end of the episode. And now it is time for your favorite part of the video. That's right, my review. What an amazing episode when it comes to the dynamic of monologue writing. Monologue writing is so important, and the acting being executed well. And it was to give us that in-depth feeling of emotion and this constant scene cut back and forth shots to give us emotional connection with both of the characters. Now, with this dynamic of the episode, if you paid attention fairly, meaning you looked at everybody's perspective, right, in this episode. Now, let's just be honest and talk about the perceptions of both characters, okay? And I grew up in debate, always, in college, and I always did well when it came to debate competitions. When you talk about debate, in order to learn your opponent and in order to have a good argument, you have to understand the other side, right? So looking at this episode, it's easy for any viewer to say, oh my goodness, Condola is so annoying. She's so annoying. And why can't she just make this easy? And he's trying. What's the big deal? So here comes the argumentative of understanding both sides to understand the characters a little bit better. And then I'll move to Lawrence's character as well, and the other characters and how they play a part in this entire relationship as friends. Okay, so let's start with Condola. In the moment where she seems very agitated and irritated with a lot of things, we also have to remember that both characters are new parents. Okay, this was something that happened abruptly. It was just in the moment. They started off with just this great passion, having sex all the time, having fun, and Lawrence on the wing of ending the relationship before that with Issa. So they were just having a good time, kicking it. Neither one of them were thinking about things being so serious so fast and spinning into this whirling derbies of where are we now and what are we doing. So from the mother's side, I do not have children, but it's obvious to understand that Condola is frustrated, pissed, and has a lot on her plate as a new mom, right? Let's start with one example. When he asked her, can he be involved with the next appointments when it comes to the baby? And she says, well, that doctor's very busy. I have to snatch up those appointments when I can, which is in real life very true. Anytime there's a doctor's appointment opening, especially when it comes to your baby, you snatch it up and take it. It's really not that window of, texting him or calling him saying, hey, is this time right? Because of the severity of the situation. Here's how the counteract of everything is a problem. Even if there isn't any availability when it comes to the baptism, when it comes to the appointments with the baby, when it comes to certain decisions, the communication part of it all is lacking, right? She didn't communicate about a lot of the stuff, and he's finding out about it at the last minute. That is how she is wrong. Taking the baby to urgent care and not telling him at all is a problem. But as a mother in the moment, she made a decision to just urgently take care of the situation because as a mom, she's thinking about the immediate health of the baby. Things as if the baptism, you've talked to your family about it, you made those arrangements, and he's finding out about it at the last minute. You're having these conversations in the moment, in the heat of time about solid foods. You haven't discussed that. So when it comes up, there's an argument. Lawrence is frustrated. It's this ping-ponging back and forth. So the message of the episode is you guys are having these differences. You're adjusting to new ways of life that aren't going to be perfect. They're perfectionists when it comes to their careers, their lives. They can handle all that. But when it comes to a newborn being, a child, communication is important. And Derek, right, and Tiffany as parents, he's trying to school him, brother to brother, like, I know it's messed up. I know y'all having this pettiness, but you gotta learn to communicate and learn when to just throw the towel in and say, we can just squash this and talk about it later. As new parents, they don't understand that. And as Condola, as a new mom, she's not getting that as well. That she's saying, this is my baby and this is my child. But in actuality, it's his child just as equally. And she hasn't come to par with that. Moments of the episode where she's so exhausted, right? That when Lawrence finally asks, hey, are we still a go for me taking care of the baby? She's saying sure out of fatigue. She's not saying sure or yes out of, I want you to spend quality time with your son. She's responding out of pure exhaustion, okay? Let's also talk about the psychology of her having this energy and she doesn't trust Lawrence and having all of these feelings. But at the same time, you want to go to an event with Lawrence with the baby. Let's address that. That lets us know right off the bat that she's a person that wants to protect image, right? Let's remember that she had a very good career in what she did, and she did it well. Now it's this, am I showing up to this event as a baby mama? So it's like she's trying to show face and save face, because it didn't come across Lawrence's mind to show up to the event, to Simone's birthday party without her. It didn't cross his mind at all, right? His focus was just being there and having a good time. So we're running into these new ways and new fluidities of life that's different for her. She's fine with, being by herself and having the baptism and having it at her, at the house and all this other stuff. But when it came to other friends, and now we're bringing this baby around friends, it's like, ooh, we see the difference here, right? So keep an eye on that. Now let's move to Lawrence. Lawrence, both characters are responsible for dropping the ball on several things, right? Not giving anyone an excuse, but when it comes to a child, normally a mother, right, has more of those intimate moments with the baby, feeding, changing, etc. And now we're talking about two people that are in two different cities. He's exhausted from work, but they show a split screen that he's exhausted, but not too exhausted to get his groove on, and not too exhausted to pop bottles and be happy at work. And he's able to sleep in a little bit more when it comes to an exhausting day. So there is this dynamic that they're showing, that Lawrence is tired and Lawrence is frustrated, but maybe not to the full extent of fatigue like Condola is. Now let's talk about friendship. It's obvious that friendships may be a little strained, right? We got Kelly saying, oh, hey, how you doing? What's going on, Lawrence and Condola and a baby, not thinking that, okay, we had this very strong bond between Issa and Lawrence, this long relationship that didn't end well at all. Then they tried to revamp it, and now we have this situation. How can you be cordial, right, now that this other woman has totally changed the possibility of that, just kicking it at the party with everybody else? It's very awkward and strange. So it's this question of who is invited and who isn't, and who's going to feel uncomfortable when it comes to more events like this, because the kids aren't going anywhere, right? Their friendships are what they are. And will it start to show this strain between everybody? Kelly seemed fine, but she admitted she was high, And we have Tiffany and Derek, who are kind of just like, it is what it is. We're just focused on the event and what's going on with us. And we're just figuring out, trying to help our marriage get on the up ends. So we're not focused on anybody else. You know what I mean? Kelly and Tiffany are just now getting to the point to where they can be cordial and cool with each other. So that's strange. So you have all these strains and dynamics within the friendship as well. And finally, you guys, let's talk about the elephant in the room. I know I was not the only one that noticed that the nursing supervisor, or whomever that she was, said to Lawrence, oh, the baby came earlier than we thought. Right? And yes, babies come earlier than expected, and babies come later than estimated, right? They're just estimates. But it just seemed a little odd to me how Lawrence received the message that the baby was born so late. Okay, so is this something that they're just giving the audience to just talk about? Like, oh, Lawrence is going to need a DNA test. Is it his baby? Is that what's going to happen? I think they're creating that to create that discussion, because babies do come early, okay? And those estimates are from a medical perspective of that range of when a mother can expect the child. I think the lateness of the text and the baby arriving and not really keeping Lawrence in the loop of when she started to have labor pains is the effects of anger from Condola. I honestly feel that the character is so upset that she thought that he shouldn't have been involved with that whole process. That's where I think that's coming from. Now, would it be this Disney ending, right? If he finds out that it's not his biologically his baby and him and Issa can hold hands and skip it to the sunset? Of course. But from a lot of interviews with the writers of this show, they have communicated in interviews that a lot of fans may be very upset, right, with the ending of this show. And they've also communicated that with the ending of this show, they don't want to paint this picture as if they're all dying off, right? They're gonna have this element of their lives will continue to go on and they'll continue to be who they are. That is something also that makes the show The Wire such a wonderful series, right? Because of the way that it ended. Everything didn't come to a close in this perfect bow around a present at the end, but it gave closure, or at least the idea sediments about what would be the next step for all of the characters. That's why The Wire is one of the best series and most beautifully written series because of that. When we talk about other shows about, fan bases that are still upset to this day, I include myself in that group with Game of Thrones and how that ended. It was an ending that just left the audience frustrated. We can do the same thing with The Sopranos. We can do the same thing with Lost, But Issa has expressed in a lot of videos and a lot of interviews that it's not going to be the perfect ending that people think, that it's going to be a close to, the show and the series and bringing it to an end, but it's not going to be the ending that everybody wants. And so I think that starting these little clues and little, eggshells in there that, could it not be his kid and everything's going to be great? And I don't think it's going to be this great, outstanding ending to where we just cry tears of joy. I think that the show would do exactly that. It will give us closure because with this, especially with this episode, it is giving us harsh realities, right? They're both right? We're in a situation, Condola and Lawrence, to have sex, right? And it's just science, right? That a baby can come out of that, okay? It's biology that stuff happens, okay? That is the reality of it. Having this fantasy of, wow, they just have sex all the time and it's just great. But we also have to keep in the back of our minds that there are consequences to everything that we do. When it comes to career, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to everything. That moment that Lawrence has on the plane, that moment of life being in danger and the baby crying is when Lawrence had that moment and that epiphany that, wow, it's not just about me. It's that moment of tears when he just had that epiphany of, I need to step up just a little bit more. And this job is great. This situation is great. I have my privacy, but maybe is what's my opinion that he will make that decision when it comes to his career in order to be closer and have a better relationship with his son, right? That's reality. Things shift and change in life. And like his friend said, right, Chad, that hey, nobody expects to get punched in life. You can have all the plans in the world, but, when it's punching, you just punch back and decide what you're going to do to make that situation better. This whole episode, we don't even see the character Issa, but the essence of her is in the episode. Lawrence looking at the full moon. They always talk about how they both love the full moon. They can look at the full moon. So they're still connecting. They're still thinking about one another. If you remember in the last episode, Issa looking at the full moon and thinking of him. They're still thinking about each other. I'm excited to see how this builds, right? Because this season is flying by so fast. And I'm just so sad that it's ending, but it is necessary. Let me know what you thought about this episode and also my review and ideas of this episode. Did it change your way of thinking about the episode now that I bring certain things up? Or are you just so pissed off that you don't care about, you just want to be mad at Condola? Okay, I get it. But I encourage you on my channel, right, to always look at all sides of the writing and see and understand what are they trying to communicate through this episode. And I think communication, them both understanding that they're new parents, that they're excellent in career, but when it comes to this newness, this new baby, this new situation, they don't have it all figured out. In the meantime, in between time, make sure that you like this video, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any posts. Check out previous posts and also the pinned comment. I have some shows that I recommend in the pinned comment. Now, there's so much more on the playlist, right? But I recommend some shows in the pinned comment that you might want to binge watch and check out, right? We got Wu-Tang and American Saga, the first 2 seasons. If you need to binge watch that, season 2 just ended. And I need you to catch on to this Emmy-nominated series that is absolutely wonderful. You don't have to know anything about Wu-Tang, right, to watch it. But I suggest you watch it, because if you don't know anything about Wu-Tang, it's just, you're a disgrace. No, I'm just kidding. You need to know about one of the most amazing hip-hop groups and artists of all time. You just need to learn about that. Also, check out Queen Sugar, right? An amazing show on the OWN network, the reality dating show Ready to Love. We have so much more in the comments. We even have a totally different thing on the aspect of Star Trek Picard. So if you're a Trekkie, check that out. We got Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal. We have all the shows that you need to get out of your element, out your comfort zone, and watch more stuff. Okay? In the meantime, in between time, take care of yourself and each other. Bye.